Hello everyone, welcome back. Tonight we're going to play on kind of a few different things. Last week we spent a bunch of time on the pull requests on the material design and XAML project for the autocomplete text box. We'll possibly circle back to that. Abraham, the original author of it, jumped in and actually took care of a lot of the to-dos from last time, which is great. One of the things that was still outstanding though was an issue in XAMLTest, which is the UI testing framework that I wrote that we use to test most of the material design and XAML project. Specifically, there's not a clean way of getting access to does an element exist. The current way is you try to get it, trap the exception, and move on. That's not as nice as I would like, and I'd like to clean that up and have a better API. So we may start there, kick a release of XAMLTest, and then maybe flip back and play with it. We'll see. I also got an email with a request from somebody looking for some WPF samples, so sounded interesting. We may look at that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. I've got Mountain Dew. I've got Visual Studio. Apparently a working machine tonight, so it's great. So let's... Hang on, I got to get this actually open. Boom. Okay. Let's see. Where are we going? Okay, so this is XAMLTest. And for anybody who wants to play along at home, there's the repo. I really need to spend some time. That's what I should probably do. I should probably start spending some time doing some, where's that? Doing some documentation for this, because in my opinion, this is a fairly awesome little guy here. There is a source generator that's bundled into here. We may clean that up as well. I've got a request out. I'm hoping to get somebody who knows source generators better than me to come on and do a stream at some point, maybe at an unusual time. So if there's a sporadic, hey, stream at an unusual hour, probably what it is. Because I told the people I was asking that I'd be happy to reschedule things if there was a different time slot that worked for them. So we'll see how that lands. Okay, so what is the actual problem? Let's look at the tests. So right now we have the ability inside a XAML test to basically do a block of XAML and then do something like this get element, which works. And actually this is even, we can even clean this up further and do that. And actually while we're in here, oh man, we're gonna do a couple things. Because some of this code was written before this stuff was a thing. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. Okay, and then we can do this, and then we can indent this sucker. Boom. Yeah, that's a little cleaner to read. So we can set some XAML content, which is, it just takes it as a string. There's nothing magical about this at all. Basically, XAMLTest has two ways of assigning content. You either feed it a string, or you feed it a user control. So user control can be helpful if you want to do things like code behind and whatnot that aren't easily representable as just a string. But a lot of times, I'm just interested in testing a little itty bitty string. You know what? I'm going to do that too, because I can. So in this case, it's just looking to get this element. But what if we wanted to check and verify that, say, we want to find if item number 5 exists or not? Ooh, this is actually going to break, isn't it? Because I've subtly introduced a bug by switching to the raw string literal, these triple question marks. Because once you do this, you can just put stuff in here literally, like no fancy escaping, which is much better. Muchas better, especially for multi-line strings, because then you don't have to do like the weird double quote stuff. We're just going to run this real quick and make sure I didn't break anything on this test. I think we're fine, but you know, let's just test it. Or we should run the test. It's cheap to run the test. Then we have to recompile. That was on this machine. I was behind main by a few commits. We'll pull this in. Green. Excellent. That's what we want. My license will expire in 12 days. No, it won't. I have an active license. You just haven't refreshed your Visual Studio. I just need to sign in, apparently, or re-sign in, more likely. Okay, so what we would like here is some way of getting back the element. The other thing is inside of this get element query, because you'll know this thing is just building up, like there's some fancy extension methods here, but at the end of the day, both of these things are just calling get element. One calls the other. And if we jump to implementation, this guy here, this guy here, this guy here. So there's a couple things. Even though this is called get element, it actually will return a count of elements and multiple ones. So I'm realizing I'm probably missing a couple APIs. I'm thinking what I want is like a try get element. Because I was trying to figure out, and this is, you know what? Let's just do this. Okay. Test-driven design, right? Let's see. On try get element. Let's see. It returns false if the element is not found. Oh, WPF, I'd expect none of those. Welcome, Jared. I hope you and your family are doing well. So this is the idea, right? Like, we haven't written any code. This is going to be actual TDD. Because a big portion of test-driven development, or as I called it a second ago, test-driven design, is designing the code. Like, what API do I want? Right? So I'm kind of thinking I want to do try get element. I want this to be, bool, I don't know, was found, right? And then I probably want an I visual element of list box item element, right? So I kind of want something like this. And then I want to assert false was found. Thank you. Do the null check. Thank you. Because this should be nullable. I think this is the API we want. Yeah, I think this is pretty close to what we want. And actually, I think we might go as... So we're going to do this by item type. And let's actually do like text box, right? So intentionally not match. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. It's been too long since we've seen each other, Jared. Okay, so I'm thinking I kind of like this API. The other thing I'm thinking I might want is something like get elements. That way I can query all of them. All right, so I might want something like this. I might also want to be able to do... Actually, maybe I want to try get elements. Do I want a collection of them? I don't think you want to try get elements. I think you just want to get elements because 0 is a valid response. Right? So in this case, because if it's not found, list box item, right? I read only list. I visual element of list box item. How about list box items? Let's fix the name of this. On get elements, it returns all matching elements. Okay, Copilot, impress me. Impress me. Write the assertions. Come on. Figure it out. Oh, see, like, mwah, Copilot. Okay, do the next one. And again. Oh, Copilot, I love you. I love you, Copilot. Woo! Now, would it have been faster for me to type it? Maybe. But it would not have been nearly as much fun as watching the AI figure it out. This is how you know. So, I will say this. Oftentimes, we like well-structured code. AI really helps with that because when things are structured, it goes, I see the pattern, and it wants to follow the pattern. And so it's harder to get off base when you got the thing. Sometimes it just runs off the deep end, and you just got to tell it to shut up. But sometimes it's magical. Okay, so I think these are the APIs that I want. A try get element that allows me to get back a single element, and a get elements that gives me back everything. I think that's where we're going. I think that's where we're going. Go to implementation. Go to implementation. Okay, so this is where we are here. And I think what we want to do is probably break this guy up, because this guy is doing most of what we want, but he is filtering down and doing this kind of weird stuff here. And I don't think we really want this. And most of the time when this thing blows up, this is the exception thrown here. Couldn't find element of type, right? Or found wrong number of elements. These are the common ones. Yeah. And specifically here, like found 0 elements because you didn't match are the other common ones. So I think let's break this guy up. Let's break this guy up. We're going to start with a duplicate. But we're going to go with get elements. And we're going to keep this one private because you'll know this takes in the string query and the desired type. And I don't really want to expose this. I kind of want to wrap it like we did the other one in give it a friendlier face. Okay, so get elements. You want to do that. This builds up the element query, error messages. If we got an error from the other side, throw. Okay, this is where I think we want to do something different, is we don't want to filter on elements count. We're going to want to do something more like for each var element in reply.elements. We're going to want to actually build these things up. And we want this thing to be task of I read-only list. Now, I'm not doing an async enumerable here very intentionally, because an async enumerable gives the idea that it's like a cursor, and the next item is going to, each time it's going to go out and reach out and grab something. I want to clearly communicate that this thing is building up an in-memory collection and handing just back that collection in one shot. So even though you could do an async enumerable, this is a case where I don't, because there's no asynchronous processing between elements, it's only on the retrieval of the elements. I think it makes more sense to do a read-only list. And I prefer read-only list because it strongly indicates to the caller, if you want to mutate this collection, copy it yourself. Is this thing? No, it's not. It's not nullable. Okay. So let's go here, and we're going to want to do something kind of like this. I think what we want to do here is list of I visual element of, I think we just want I visual element. How's this other one working? Yeah, it's giving back just visual elements. So we're going to do elements, new, and we can be a little smarter and do elements.count, because odds are the number of items we're returning is going to match the elements in our reply. Okay, so let's grab this little bit of code. Okay, so we're going to throw this away, and then this is just going to be return elements. Okay, so that handles that. We don't need this. And then this is a create. I don't think we like that. I think we want this to be elements.add. And then we're going to go with, thank you, Copilot. I appreciate that. And what are you squawking about here? Possible null reference. It thinks desired type. Because this is no longer an early exit. Got it. Thank you. Good catch. Let's just have this thing continue. And then I think I'm going to wrap. I actually don't like that continue. There's a principle that some people like to follow that is single point of exit. And oftentimes this can make logic a little bit harder. I think it's probably better to do it like this and do something like else if, else. There. What are you complaining about? No, we're not taking that option. Thank you. So this now gives us a little bit better. Now, I think we could actually probably rewrite this in terms of the other one. We'll come back to that in a moment. I think what I want to do first, though, is get my new methods working. So let's do get elements, because this is the next one we want. So we're probably going to need to do something like this. We'll have to clean up the extension method a little bit, but let's start here. Get elements. Get elements. And then we're gonna have to do rename. No, I just convert block body. Thank you. Trying to decide if it's worth feeding this down. Does this thing always hit? Yeah, I'm wondering if rather than passing desired type like this, I think we can probably get away with it in this case, just doing this, and then we can whack this one, which means this could actually promote to public because now these things match. Okay, so I think we can do this. And then desired type being null is not a option. Is that a problem? I'm trying to decide if this thing can ever have desired type as null. Oh, there is this. We might want to have that not be a generic. Because sometimes you don't have the types, and I know there's times where it's advantageous for me. Grumble, 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 grumble. Okay, fine, I'll put it back. Okay. Because we might end up doing a get elements where it doesn't do the cast. So we might do, just to be clear, we might end up doing something like this where it looks like this. Something more like that. And this guy's unhappy because he lacks his return. Yeah. I think we're gonna do creativeness here. Cast visual element T element to list. I think we're gonna do that. I don't like it that much, but I don't see a cleaner option, not with needing to support both APIs. Okay, so I think then what happens is this goes up here, and we're gonna need to actually add these things in. Hey, Copilot, add it for me. No? Come on, Copilot. I had such faith in you. Tell you what, I'll do the first one, Copilot. Okay? I mean, I kind of did the first one. Can you do the other one for me? No? Okay. You're making me sad, Copilot. Read-only list of visual element. Now autocomplete. There. We'll need to add XML docs here in a moment, but that gets us there. And then if we go back to our test, this gets us pretty close, except for the previous one was leveraging a extension method to build up the queries. So I think we want to duplicate this. And then let's indent that. No, stop it. Stop it, Visual Studio. Do what I told you, not what I typed. Okay, get element. Why are you not? How are you? I'm just confused as to how this isn't giving me a compiler of duplicates, but whatever. Get elements. Get elements. Element query. What is tripping me up here? Let's see. Get elements. Well, both of these need to be read-only list. That goes like that. Yeah, do that for me. Get elements. Because this one calls into the iQuery. Oh, this one I did incorrectly. That should be like that. Okay, so now we are unhappy about task iRead-only list of iVisual element to task iRead-only list iVisual element of TList. This is resolving to because I declared this one wrong. T element. Let's make sure those things both show up with their little eyeballs or little. What are those? Are those eyes? Where's my zoom in? Look at that. I'm not going to be able to unsee this. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a capital I. And that little pixel is off. Like I want to shift this whole bottom thing up. Why? Yeah, see that? I expect I'm not going to be able to unsee that pixel now. This is going to really bother me. It's really frustrating. I should file a feedback report. How are we this far in and nobody noticed a pixel being off? More importantly, how do you get into a situation where the pixel's off like that? Okay, I won't get nerd sniped right now, but I might have to go and dig into why that is. Because we can snoop Visual Studio. A large portion of Visual Studio is WPF, so we can go look. Okay, so get element. That's now fine. The try get is broken, but get elements is there. So let's comment you out real quick. Let's just make sure that this one works. In theory, it works now, which is kind of cool. See? Okay, failed. That's clearly a problem. Expected to, actual 1. I am wondering if on the other side of the fence, it limits its query to a single element, or if it gets them all. Let's see, this is get element, element query, evaluate query, get element. It only does add once. Interesting. Let's take a look. This could be why I've never implemented a get elements. How much do we bite off right now? Okay, so get query, evaluate query result. do we continue down this path or do we shelve this? That's the big question. Continue or shelve? Let's think through this. So if we continue down this path, what's going to need to happen is when we receive this query, we're going to need to find all elements that match the query. The problem being is because these queries are recursive, we don't know how deep to go. Is that a problem? Because we could just go all the way down the visual tree. Is that bad? I mean, it's not horrible. The thing is it recurses through this. And how does it know what? Because it evaluates the name, gets the result, gets all the way down to the result. Evaluate name query, evaluate property, child type query. Let's take a look. Because it is iterating, get type names. I'm thinking we shelve the get elements for the moment. Yeah, let's shelve the get elements for the moment. I still want the try get. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to come over here and we are going to go to stage, visual element, stage. We'll keep that change. Can I do this, get cracking? I don't know if I can. Yeah, stage selected. And then I'd like to do, create a branch. Let's call it get elements idea. And then we're going to take this and we're going to go whip and we're going to commit it. And then we're going to go back to master. How about we go stash, back to master, pop. Oh, hush. What's your problem? Yeah, I want this side. Thanks. Just do what I told you to do. And then I don't need this stash anymore. Delete stash. Delete. Okay. So now if we come back here, we still have this. And we want to implement this guy. Okay. So we still want this guy to be built out. So let's go try get element then. So once again, I think what we're going to do is implement it in terms of another and then collapse them. Okay, so let's back this up. So this is going to be task of bool, try get element, and we want an out I visual element. So we want that. How about found element? Do that for the moment. And we're going to do question mark. And then we want to annotate this guy with not null when the return value is true. Like that. Okay, so even though we've declared it nullable with the question mark, we decorate it with the annotation so that it knows, oh, async methods cannot have in or out parameters. How do we implement try get? Do we allow it to return null instead? Because it's either going to be one found or nothing. We could, okay, so this is why we do these API things. Let's actually generate method. Yeah, because we could change this up a little bit. We're going to move this down to iVisualElement. We want it to be here, basically. Okay, and then we're going to clean up my usings. Clean that up, clean that up, clean that up. So that's fine there. And then the question is, can we implement it? Because this guy now wants it. Clean up my usings. Thank you. Implement interface. And I think the issue is going to come down to the async keyword. Where did it go? Did it put it at the bottom? Yeah, you did. You did. Okay, so we're going to have this. T. Actually, this should really be T element. To get the signature right, T element. Not null when true, and we'll probably want to put this annotation on the interface as well. So that goes like that. Okay. And then this is TT element, which is clearly not correct. And then come down here. Okay. So this is fine. The issue comes as soon as you do that. Because once you put an async method, the compiler rewrites with a state machine so that it can appropriately return, which is the limitation on out parameters. So in order to make this work, we would need to separate these things apart. I don't know how I would do that cleanly. Which is why I'm wondering if try get element is the wrong signature. And instead, try get element should be iVisualElement of nullable. That might be simpler. If we do that, the name try-get seems to imply that it's wrong. I don't like try-get methods always have this bool return out parameter thing. And these are all async, which is what's making that difficult. Because there's not a good equivalent. So what's a better name than try-get? Rather than try-get element, you know what? Where's my Copilot? Okay, Copilot, here is your chance. How do I? Where's my window? Oh, Copilot chat. Yeah. Suggest a better method name for try get element. Okay, so aside from the fact that I put double semicolons at the end, it likes find element. I kind of like that. So that means then the API looks more like find element. And I guess this is the element. I can get on board with that. Let me just check to make sure I haven't used find anywhere else in a signature. Get find element query. Find element query. That actually lines up really well then. Okay, thank you, Copilot. Now go away, evil overlord. Okay, so let's go back to the test then. So this becomes find element. And then this becomes element. And you go away. And then we do that. And we do that. Okay, I can get on board with this. I can get on board with this. T element. There. And then this needs to be nullable. Okay, so that goes like that. That goes like that. And at the end of the day, we are going to need the non-generic version as well. For dumb reasons. But we'll need both. And actually, what we really want is string query as well. Okay, so that gets us to there, that gets us to there, that gets us there. So this then becomes find element, visual element. So this count of 1 is kind of a check, kind of not, because the only values this is going to get is 0 or 1. So this is going to be returning null. And this needs to be nullable. Let's see, error messages we still want to propagate, create the type, that works. I think we still throw if you send a query for one thing and get back a different one. And I think this one we also just get rid of. Yeah, because this is the subtle difference. I'm just trying to decide if I can rewrite these, because what I'm saying is I'm going to collapse these things of could not find element. This doesn't really seem likely to get back one item, but the element doesn't match by type. This is very hard to hit. In fact, I don't even know if I can write a test to hit it. The code allows it, but I think functionally it's unreachable. So I think I'm okay flattening these. The only reason I'm saying that is because I want to re-implement this method in terms of this method. So because I think that's what we'll end up doing here. Okay, so there goes that find element. This find element, it exists. We need string query though. And then this guy needs string query. And then we drop the generic. And both of those go there. This one becomes easy. This one becomes, we just return find element. Passing the query and null for the desired type. This one, I think we do the same thing as what we did here. We can straight hard cast because we know the implementation. Find element, this becomes nullable. What is your problem? The await operator can only be used inside of an async method. Well, be async then. That's fine, that's fine. This should not be get element, this should be find element. That is something else we're going to lose a little bit. We might have to separate out this a teeny bit more. I think we could do this. That ordering isn't critical. Yeah, in fact, I think the log message first is better. Okay. That gets us to there. That gets us close. But we still want to go here, and we want to implement the find element overloads for these. This becomes... No, don't help me. Thank you. That goes like that. That goes like that. And then this becomes find. This becomes nullable. This becomes find. This becomes find. That goes like that. On change the name of this. Find element. It returns null. Let's be clear. When query does not match, it returns null. I think that's a cleaner way to write that name. Okay, compile. Are we still targeting net 3.1? Let's see. Thought I killed you. Apparently not. We might need to drop 3.1 out of the supported list. I don't remember how long it's alive, but I think material design even dropped it already, if I remember. Okay, so let's run this test and make sure that it works. Of course it fails. Excellent. Let's look at it this way. Yeah, what are we compiling 3.1? XAMLTest targeting 3.1? Look at that. We aren't running our tests against it. That's probably an accidental inclusion. That was too quick. Okay, so failed to find element of this guy, visual tree service, failed to find child element of type text box. So that implementation is all the way over here. Let's see here, because this is find elements. I guess this is string query. Evaluate query, evaluate child type query. Through. So this is where? Line 207. Let's not clean up those usings until we find our line number. 207. Failed to find item of type. This guy throws. So what is Okay, we gotta walk our way up the food chain here real quick. This guy is expecting to throw because he was unable to match. And this would set current. While query length, if current is null, could not resolve query on null elements. I don't really want to trigger that, so having this thing bubble up is probably fine. If evaluate query is not dependency object, this thing is going to throw. This is going to catch here. So the question being, do we have the right implementation, or should we do something different? Should get element have the ability to ignore missing? I wonder if it's that bad, because all of these things then change to try gets. We can still throw. Let's build that out. I think I'm okay with doing try gets through here rather than, because we could just look for the exception, trap it, and be done, but I don't like that as much. So that my element query, oh, I got a protocol buff specker. So the way this ends up working is XAMLTest fires up a remote WPF application and then manipulates the contents inside of it. it goes back and forth between your unit test process and this WPF app that it stood up process using protocol buffers over named pipes. Let's see, get element query. I want to add an element to element query. So let's see, can we do bool? Ignore missing. Is that a good name? I guess it's fine for now. Yeah, we'll do ignore missing. I don't see a reason not to. Okay, so that means that in visual element, we're going to change this element query up to have one more line. Element query, ignore missing gets true. And then on the other side, we need to handle that query coming in. So I think what I'm going to do is this and do request if ignore missing, otherwise empty string. There, so it'll tack on ignore missing if the flag is set, otherwise it'll do tack on nothing. Okay, so this needs to evaluate the query, and then this needs to take in request ignore missing. So evaluate query now needs a bool ignore missing. And then these things need to be, like, in this case, we are specifically doing a child type query. So this should be try evaluate child query. Out object child. How about found? Let's see. Bool. And then this becomes found equals child. Return true. We're going to hold this for a moment because we're going to want this. Return false. Found gets null. Let's see here, and this we will once again flag with not null when return value is true. Now this is broken here. We're going to change this up to if not try evaluate current value out result and so if that isn't true and if we don't get it there, let's just write this out in longer form. If ignore missing return null, otherwise throw. And that becomes value. Do we like this better? I think I do. I think I do. Which means this guy is going to be evaluate query on nullable. Nullable is going to be fine. Is not dependency object. If let's see, request dot ignore. So if we are not set to ignore, we're going to add in the error, but in both cases we return. And then we do the get element, slap it in, away we go, bippity boppity booyah. Okay. So that gets us to there. That gets us to there. Let's test our current test. because that should be enough to get this test passing. Okay, green light. Green light. Okay, we like this. Yes. Okay, let's run the rest of these to make sure we didn't break any existing behavior. Okay, cool. So existing behavior still works. So I'm being hesitant to do too much right now because I know I haven't finished my implementation, but I don't have a failing test. So let's start here. Create branch, find element. Boom. Right? First test passing. Boom. Okay. So the other cases that we have are related to doing find element. I'm wondering if these should be a separate test class. Let's see here. I don't know. Well, but we also haven't re-implemented A in terms of B yet. Let's do that first before we get too carried away. Because I think if we re-implement them together, then I'm fine putting them into the same one. Okay, so we want this again, but we want execute get element query. Okay, because this thing we really want to take in an element query. We're going to expect the caller to basically give us that. This goes away. We're going to get rid of the log. We are going to ask for a nullable desired type. Okay, and then what we can do here is this guy then becomes return get element query. Element query. Got to move this up. Desired type. We flatten this all out. And then we drop that. We're fine there. We basically want to do the same thing here. Move the log statement up. And then this gets even smaller. Return get element query. Element query, desired type, bippity boppity booyah. We do that, we do that, we do that. But this one is that's not quite right. We want this thing to, so we do want to go async. We do want to await, and then we want to throw if it's not found. So let's go grab that code. Let's see. Which one is most likely? Let's throw a different exception. I'm not really a fan of any of the exceptions I wrote before, and put something along the lines of did not find element matching query, and let's just do query. Because we've got enough logging on the inside to know what it is. I think this works better. Okay. So find elements is nullable, ignores missing. This one's here. Let's go back over to our test explorer that I've clearly closed. Rerun these tests to make sure that those all still work. I'm a little curious why it's popping two windows. If I do, one of these things must be doing a create window. Ah, this is why. This test is popping its own window, whereas the other ones are reusing it. Got it. Okay, that's fine. It's just it's more expensive to pop a window than it is to reuse an existing window, but I don't think I have a way of... Actually, wait. Window set content. I think create window with content, because this builds it up very differently. Not trivial. So say there's probably a way to go through and clean this up so it doesn't have to spin a whole separate window. Not a current problem. Not a current problem. Okay, so now that these things are implemented in terms of each other, I think I'm happy with them being in the same one. Making get element use find element. Boom. Okay, so that is in. Oh, I really need to stop closing that. Okay, let's do this. Boom, let's do this. Let's see. Found element or null if not found. This is actually better placed here. And then we're going to do this. Found element or null if it is not found. Okay, so that handles that. That can go away. Now, we should probably move this to the end. And I think I want to double up on some queries here. Returns null. Let's see. Find element when child type query does not match. When element name query does not match. So we're going to do list box. Bad name. List box. Okay, so this I expect to fail because we have not implemented the ignore missing for element name queries. And this should be hitting an element name query. Didn't. Interesting. Let's see. Get element query. Do I not know my own syntax? I think we're fine. Why did it not match? Let's do with name. Let's see, this wants to be generic of list box. Oh, how do I do this? Oh, element query of type. With name wants a T on it as well. Okay, that's why I can't read my own syntax. With name. It's probably better to have a more explicit query anyway. I'm so curious why that didn't fail. I don't like when my tests don't fail when I expect them to. Oh, because our top level item is ignoring it. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. Because we should come into here. We should do evaluate name query. Oh, evaluate name query returns nullable. This one's not throwing. So it's already evaluated properly. That's interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we should probably change this up just the same. It's working, but it's working by accident rather than by intention. Because I think I would rather have them all be a similar syntax. Let's see. Let's do bool. Let's see. So found gets that. Return found is not null. Boom. And then we go up here. If basically do the same thing. Failed to find child element with name. There. Now it should work intentionally rather than by accident. That is interesting. See, this is why you write tests. Of course, that breaks something. Failed to find child element with name. Well, that's interesting. Let's go figure out what we broke. So let's see. Window get element. Search by grid. Then my text box. And this guy erred. Failed to find child element with name my text box. Okay. Well. Is it expected to match? It retrieves nested items by name. We're going to do that, and we're going to debug the test, and let's go and chase it down. This thing should be set up bang in front of try. Oh, am I that stupid? I am that stupid. Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Clearly, I need Mountain Dew. Okay. Oh boy. I have a suspicion this will fix it. Because writing your conditions backwards is a great way to have not correct behavior. This is why we write tests. Hey, look at that, 21 passed. Okay, better. Okay, so let's do a property one next. It retrieves items by property. So we basically want this test, but with some tweaks. Down here, so we want this one on find element. Let's see. We want to change this up here. Boom. When property query does not match. Let's see. So border dot child dot text block. Trying to decide if you typo a property name, should that actually return null or should that throw? I'm wondering if that one should throw. Because if I do something like child foo is the property name, even if you call, even if you do find element, right? This isn't a missing element, it's a bad query. And I'm wondering if that actually makes sense. Should property queries still throw if they don't match? I think they should throw. I realize I've now just declared one that's a little different, but properties seem different to me. Yeah, failed to find property child foo on element of type border. I think that's expected. We don't have dynamic properties in WPF. I think property name should still throw. When property does not match, let's see. I think we should have a test for it. Throws exception async. Let's see, XAMLTest exception. Let's see, and we drop the await off that. We move it to the front. And then this becomes XAMLTest exception, exception. Boom. And then let's see, assert. They're not a contains in this one. I guess we have to do is true. Is true. Exception dot message contains child foo. I just want to make sure that the error message itself indicates what is wrong. There. Okay. I think that's better. Okay, what was the last type of query? Child property expression. Yeah, I think property expression is going to be different though, because property expression is a match, and I think it's going to depend. Because this, like for example, here's the test. Right, this says go hunting me the item that has a tag equal to 2. Right, I'm gonna, while I'm in here, beep beep beep, we're gonna do that. Grab you, grab you, grab you, paste. We're gonna clean up these quotes. There, and then that. Okay, so this is the idea here, and I think we want 2 cases. I don't think property expressions allow you to specify. They do. Okay, I think if you typo the property name, it's an exception, but the value is a null. Okay, so we're gonna steal this for a moment. Bring it down here. We're gonna do this on find element. Let's see, when property name in property expression query does not match throws error. Okay, so specifically here, property expression, non-generic. This is going to be bad prop. All right, so this guy here, oh, it wants, still wants to know the type. So this should now throw, let's see, XAMLTest exception. Exception. Let's see, I guess we do it here. Assert throws exception async lambda, and we want this to be find element. We did fix that on the other one, right? Oops, spelling mistake. Thank you. Yeah, we did. Good. Let's see, throws. XAML test exception. Okay, so that goes there, and then I want to do an is true, and I want to verify the exception message contains a bad prop. I just want to make sure of all those things to include in the message. That's what's critical. Okay, so this, I don't know if it passes or fails, because I don't know if the get element method tested this case. Circle, 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 circle. Where's my little circle? Okay, so it appropriately threw. Okay, good, 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 good. Okay, so that worked. Now let's test the other side. Let's see. When property value in property expression does not match, it returns null. So down here, if you do a hunt for, and this is where we can go back and do that, and we can say if this is 4, this is no longer throwing. This should, let's see, I visual element, text block, element should be nullable. Oh, nope, 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 nope. Can't type. Assert null is null. There's been too much XUnit recently. I can't type the other way. Okay, so this one I suspect we have to go fix. There. Okay, so that's good because I expected it to fail. Failed to find child element with property expression tag equals 4. Perfect. Okay, so now we come over here. Evaluate property expression. So this needs to become basically, well, let's go implement it first. This becomes bool try evaluate out object. What do we call the other ones? Result, found. Okay, so found gets child, return true. Found gets null, return false. We're gonna grab that because we're gonna need it here in a moment. And then we're gonna do not null when. You are not null on true. And I believe that has to be the case. Child can't be null, right? Yeah, because if child were null, we would have failed on multiple calls above there. Okay, perfect. So we go up here, and this gets re-implemented like the other ones. We're going to put the not in front of it this time because I'm not going to make the same mistake again. Pun intended. Let's see. So current value out result. Okay, so you want to write the exception for me? That's pretty good. Is that what's on my clipboard? Dang nab you, Copilot. That is spot on the mark. Okay. Okay, so now the test should pass. It just works. Okay, perfect. Okay, is there anything else we care about? I'm gonna rerun all the get element tests real quick. I don't think we broke anything in that process. Oh, we broke something. Oh, it did not throw. Well, that lied to me. Okay, so let's go here. Because that is hunting for the property. Ah, the else case of the find property descriptor is failing. So I think this is going to get a little awkward because this could be a different number of elements. I think what we want to do is track if we found the property. Bool property found gets false. Proper found gets true. That way we know if we found it because we need this guy to do something very different here. Let's see. And we're going to throw something very... So if not property found, we'll throw failed to find a property and we actually know the property. I don't think we want to say on element type. Failed to find property and expression. This we probably want to put in. Failed to find property in expression. Let's do in property expression on any matching elements. Okay, because this is basically going to rip through all of the descendants from the current point, looking for anybody who has the property. Okay, so that should now properly throw. There, okay, let's rerun them all just to make sure. Sure we didn't botch anything else in the process. Great, okay. Let's see. Implementing the rest of the behavior. Boom. Okay, so we're gonna do this. So, pro tip on Get Kraken, you'll note I have a local branch here called find element, and I want to push it and open up a PRR master. Click, drag, drop. Push find element and start pull request to origin master. Yep, that's pretty much what I want. Push it, PR it, adding find element method. This allows for checking for the presence of an element rather than always throwing when missing. create pull request. If you want GitHub, enable auto merge, you need to confirm auto merge. Yeah. Kind of love it. Kind of love it. Wish I could check that box from Get Crack when I'm opening it, but we'll accept it. Okay. I don't think there was an issue for this. No, there was no issue for this. Okay, so that'll do the find element. That'll get us most of the way through there. Kind of happy with that. I need to remember real quick how we kick a release, because I think we're going to kick a full release of this guy after this, because there's been a bunch of stuff done in XAMLTest, and I keep doing preview releases, and I think I just kind of want to kick a full release. And I think we're going to drop netcore 3.1. But let me the big one is making sure material design isn't using it. I'm pretty sure we dropped this. Why don't I have material design open? I thought I did. Pretty sure we dropped 3.1 because it's out of support from Microsoft. Let's see here. Where are you? There you go. Yeah, Net 6, Net 7, and 4.6.2 framework. Okay. But XAMLTest doesn't support the full framework, only the new stuff, because I can't get name pipes with gRPC on full framework. So we only run our UI tests against Net 6 or Net 7. I don't remember which. I basically said that if my UI tests pass on one framework in material design, good enough. It's really, really, so far I have seen 0 bugs where there is a UI difference between the frameworks. So that at least my test would have caught. We are going to drop that. And let's actually do a different pull request for that. Create branch, drop netcore 3.1. Boom, 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 boom. Stage. Dropping .NET Core 3.1. Commit, and then once again, drag, drop, push, push. Yeah, create pull request. And then we're gonna enable auto merge on that guy too. Okay, and now I wanted to find where what my release trigger was. I cannot remember. Why are my GitHub items not? Normally there's a GitHub node right here. Huh. Wonder why they aren't showing up there. Okay, so what is my release trigger on this one? .NET build, .NET test, pack, NuGet version. Am I triggering my NuGet version? So I looking for ref tag v is the way we get a full release. I got it. Otherwise it does the run number. Okay, so I just need to create a release and then out the door we go. My GitHub folder has disappeared for some reason, sometimes from Visual Studio. Yeah, I don't like, so like on this project, it's not a huge deal because I intentionally will go through and add the contents of my GitHub repo into my solution items because I like to be able to see them. But it's a little frustrating that it's not here. It's a little obnoxious. By a little obnoxious, I mean really, really bloody obnoxious. Okay, cool. Well, that'll get me there. What editor config change do you think I just made? What's different? Oh, wow. So it wants to inject a lot of stuff. Yeah, sure, fine. Updates to .editor config. Let's do a new branch. Nope, I want a new branch. Create branch. Editor config. Boom. 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 Oh man, I cannot tell you how good it feels to be writing code. In my day job, I have spent a significant period of my time not writing any code. And this is what I need. Yeah, absolutely correct, Benjamin. It's very annoying when like high-speed internet. Once you have it, it's really, really hard to go back. For those of you who are too young to remember, in ye olden days, we used to be able to like eat a bowl of cereal and get a coffee while we waited for our computers to connect to the internet. It wasn't like this open web browser and you're online and going situation. That's new. I feel old now. Wow. Wow. Ugh. Yes. If any of you out there are still on like ye olde dial-up, I'm sorry. I am very, very sorry. Okay, so once all of these merge, I think I'm just going to kick a release. Because all I have to do is push a tag, and then out it goes. So I'm going to let all of these things kind of work their way in. I'm going to actually switch here really quick and push this just so I don't lose it. I have a tendency to like just wipe my local directories out for kicks and giggles because it makes me feel good to feel like I've cleaned something, even if it's like I haven't actually cleaned a thing. That was a virtual thing. But I will, because this is just a tag, because we've got 1.0. I think we're going to do a 1.1. Yeah, I think we will do a 1.1. It bothers me that this thing... Oh, I put a dot in front of this tag. How old is this one? Oh, that's... yeah. That must be a local only. Yeah, because it's not remote. Yeah, you'll note these ones gave me the options to delete from remote. Okay, that makes me feel better. I didn't leave my remote a mess. Right? Good. I didn't leave my remote a mess. Yeah, I think we're going to do a 1.1. This is source level compatibility, but it's been a while since we've had a... See, this isn't... not going with Microsoft version of Semver. Yeah, Microsoft had the problem of they tried to embed 4 values in a thing that only accepts 3. Like that was the hard part, is they had 4 things they wanted to encode in their version values. So if anybody's ever played around, I think there's actually, let me go look. I vaguely remember a .NET SDK versioning complaint. I vaguely recall, yeah, this guy. Yeah, where they explained out what they were doing. So because they wanted 4 things, they do 3 digits with the idea that the 2 digits mean one thing and the third one means something different. Which is kind of weird. Yeah, and you'll note they've actually planned out for having 10 feature updates before a runtime feature update. Meaning if they get to 5.0.1000 instead of 900, they will just increment out. Which, yeah, like the thing is with them releasing basically every year on November, like the craziest they ever got was like in the 7.0 days where they did 7.1, 7.2, 7.3. Like that was the craziest they got. I don't think that's going to happen again. Like the steady cadence of release every November, like that's the thing, is people get hung up on the idea of going through and doing it. And why not just use the 4th version digit? Great question. Even though the version object in .NET supports the 4th one, NuGet doesn't. So so there's this weird disjoint where they kind of had to go with least common denominator. in order to get it to work. NuGet versioning support the arbitrary suffix, which the regular version thing doesn't. So that was the weird balancing act that they were trying to go through and deal with. Do you know Unity? I know enough. I know C#, and Unity is close enough to idiomatic C#. But if you have questions on like the SDK, I'm probably not the right guy. Like, I can muddy my way through it, and I've done a handful of tutorials with it, but that's kind of the sum total of my knowledge. Okay, these things haven't merged. Okay, we may go back. We may go play with trying to decide what we should do next. I'm kind of tempted to go back to the material design one. The examples one that I was contemplating doing, I'm thinking is going to take more time than what I have tonight. So just for a teaser, one of the requests that I received was building out a sample application that shows how to do a tabbed UI similar to what you get in like Visual Studio, where you've got this kind of solution explorer thing on the one side, tab thing on the right. I was kind of thinking of building up like my own very emphasis on very poor man's version of kind of like a VS Code type layout. Again, not a full IDE or anything like that, but just enough of an editor to kind of show full featured how you might go from point A to point B. Just to see web client versus HTTP client. Why use one versus the other? Web client is old, HTTP client is new. You want to use HTTP client unless you have some backwards compatibility thingy that you're trying to support. Web client does come with a couple APIs that aren't natively inside of HTTP client though. For example, when you trigger downloads, it has like a download event where it will post progress back. HTTP client doesn't have that. And instead you basically have to roll your own progressy stuff inside of it. I think I vaguely recall I vaguely recall seeing something in here on how to do it. Yeah, something like this is, I'll post this, is similar. If you need it, Benjamin, let me know. I've got some samples, but they are on private repos that I can't open here. But basically, the download method on web client is why a lot of people will go back to it over HTTP client, because they don't know how to handle it. The thing is it's not that great. It's kind of a sucky API, and a better thing to do is just to add this kind of extension method on HTTP client. What this ends up doing is it does an HTTP head request to the server to get the content length, so that it can actually do reasonable progress reporting, right? And then because the HTTP head call doesn't download the body, it just says, okay, how big is this thing going to be when I get it? And assuming the server can provide that value, right? If there was no progress passed in, and honestly, you could probably this progress null check you could probably do earlier in the process to avoid making the head call at all. Like, it seems like it's cheap, but it's still a network call that you don't need. But regardless, if you don't have an iProgress or you don't have content length, you just straight download stream copy. Otherwise, then you can go through and do this progressing bit. And the thing here though is you basically are watching the stream, and you have to chunk it, right? And so I don't know what that number is. They picked an arbitrarily big number. I think on mine I did like 4096 as a buffer size. Because effectively you are doing the stream copy from one into the next, going back and forth, and then doing the progress reporting inside of the stream extensions. But something like that. Is it easy to migrate from one to the other? I have a web client and I want to upgrade to HTTP client. It's easy-ish. The APIs are different. If you are not using any of the events on web client, it's pretty painless. If you're using the events on web client, it can be a lot more challenging. Now, in some ways, it's certain things get easier because on web client, you have like the download completed event. And on HTTP client, you just do await an async method and your download completed is below the await. So in some ways, things condense. Some of the events, though, there isn't that, like the progress bit, there isn't a direct equivalent for, and you end up doing something like this in order to make it work, right? And you'll see that people have other various versions in here. So it's easy. Yeah, mostly. Mostly. I don't know what this one is. Oh, this is just explaining iProgress. So yeah, it's not terrible to go from one into the other. And then I will just for completeness sake, a lot of people will favor a library called REST Sharp. I have mixed opinions on REST Sharp. It is good. And for a long time, because the APIs inside of .NET were so bad, REST Sharp gained a lot of popularity before HTTP client was a thing. And I believe recently, like, and by recently, I mean like the last couple of years, that I believe they recently upgraded to HTTP client under the hood. So there's a lot of stuff in here that they give you that is kind of nice. They basically try to make friendlier APIs over everything else. So a lot of people do like REST Sharp for generation, and even tools that will take like an open API spec and generate you a client. A lot of them have options for generating REST Sharp code because it is so popular. So some people really like it. I kind of have mixed opinions of it. It's like, I don't mind if people use it, but I tend to just straight HTTP client. I also don't mock my HTTP clients. I do direct injection inside of them. So, and to be clear on that, mock contrib HTTP client. This guy. So if you are using HTTP client and you're writing tests, this type of approach is my preferred way of handling it. I've written my own variation on this library like 3 or 4 times now, but this one is, I've now used it twice and I kind of like it. It basically gives me everything my hand-rolled one does, and I don't have to write it. So that's a big plus. But the idea being that you set up a message handler for it, because HTTP client itself is an abstraction over a bunch of message handlers. This is how things like the poly library that adds retry works. Is it just adds a handler inside of the HTTP client, and it's a top level handler that says, oh, if one of the inner ones throws, let's go ahead and implement your retry policy or whatever you've set it up for. So rather than mocking your HTTP client, what you actually mock instead is the HTTP message handler that goes inside of the client, right? And you can see they're doing handler create client off this mock, which is an extension method they've added. But then you just tell the handler, hey, if you see a request for this, if you see a get to this URL, here's the JSON payload I'd like you to reply back with. Right, and they've got some fancy little extension methods so that you can feed it a POCO and it'll do the JSON serialization and then send it back. That way you don't have to write all of that stuff. And then you can get callbacks and that kind of thing, because sometimes you want to simulate like, well, what happens if I get a 404? What if, there's a bad gateway and it's a 502 or whatever, right? You can kind of start to simulate those types of situations. Setup sequence, this is something that's actually built into mock directly, but it becomes a lot more useful in something like this, where maybe you've got 3 calls to an API and they're basically going to be from the request side look identical, but you want to return in sequence different values, great. So it has all of that kind of stuff built in. So this is a fairly nice little thing to plug in. Like I said, I've used it a handful of times and it works really well. And the most important thing is I don't have to rewrite this again because I've written it now too many times and I'm kind of sick of writing it. So if you are interested and still using mock, it is worthwhile. I will say, just as a follow-up on that whole mock controversy that everyone has, the latest releases have stripped everything back out. So it's difficult to say whether any of the sponsor link stuff is going to come back, but it's gone, and all you have to do is upgrade to the latest version, and there's no problem. So, for what it's worth. Oh, proof is in the pudding. NuGet.org. If we look at versions, right? The versioning looked funny to me because we went from 4.18 to 4.20, which was fine, but we went from .4 to .69. I don't know. I can't explain it. But if we crack this NuGet package open, you will note there is no longer any analyzer. So we are back to pure mock all by itself. Off to the races. No big deal. So no panic. So, and I know there were some people who basically pinned themselves to 4.18, which is fine. I don't know that there's much in 4.20. I haven't compared the APIs to know what the differences are, but I'm not aware of any new features that compel you to move from 4.18 to 4.20. So if you're still paranoid, pin yourself at 4.18. Because everything going forward is going to be newer than that. And off to the races we go. Okay. That was enough stalling. Pull requests. Oh, look at that. They're all closed. Oh. Mwah. Acid Rain. Welcome. I appreciate the follow this last week, too. I saw that come through. I will apologize. There's been the amount of chaos in my life the last few weeks has dramatically increased. Okay, we are going to create ourselves a full release of this sucker. Where is create tag? Create tag. Wow, that was a lot harder for me to see than it really should have been. So let's see. This is going to be v.1.1.0. And okay, push tag to remote. Ooh. That's fun. Should probably not push that tag to Nikolai's fork. Ooh, that could be bad. Okay, so that goes. This is the best part. Push tag, full release out the door. And away we go. Away we go. Okay, I want to flip back to material design. And I probably have to do some stuff here. Let's see, feature auto suggest box. So we got some back and forth stuff here. Let's go here. Boom. Okay, we may actually, I'm feeling low on time. Let's do the expander one. We'll let that guy roll for a moment because it should go and do the needful. That closes, this closes. So, Abraham, if you are watching, I apologize. I think I'm about to jump in and just handle this. Yeah, so we're going to go and take a look at this. So this is one that I reviewed before. I left some comments, but I think we're just going to go fix it and get it merged because I think it's something that people have requested for a long time. So the idea here is the expander control. An expander control is basically a group box with a drop-down button that expands and collapses. So nothing fancy. And people have repeatedly asked, hey, I don't like your little down chevron. I want to change your icon up. And previously, there was no way to do that. And Abraham went through and he opened a PR and it mostly is there. It's pretty close. I did note one minor issue with it that I kind of wanted to go back and address. Is there's Well, I'm just going to show it. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. We have a cool thing since last week, and I want to use it. Let's see. We have this fancy little thing called Expander. Boom. So after last week's stream, Nikolai decided to implement, yes, command line arguments so that we can start the demo app pointed at the page we want rather than me constantly doing this clicky thing. So Nikolai, thank you. That was awesome. Okay, and it works great. Okay, so here's the feature. Is you can see down here at the bottom these Expander 3 ones. You'll note Expander 3A, we've got a little plus. Hey, big little plus. It's so cute. Woo. And then when we click it, it goes to a minus. That's pretty cool. And then you'll note Expander 3B has the chevron moved all the way to this side. If we take a quick look at what the change is down here, and we may go change up the XAML, the show me the XAML things to split these because these are kind of obnoxious to look at. But if we look at 3B, where's Expander 3B? 3B. Here's the thing, right? So 3B has the Expander button position start, right? And 3A, what we've done is we've added a style. So there's now Expander button content where you can specify any content you want. So in this case, we're using pack icons, but you know what? If you want to drop an image in there and have fun, go for it, right? This is just the content for the button. So do what you'd like. But most people are going to want to toggle it on Expander collapse. So there's a sample showing, hey, if you want to toggle that icon to something different, because our normal icon, it's not a different icon. We do a rotation to it. But if you want to do something different, set up a trigger. You can do a storyboard if you want an animation. You can just straight toggle it, change the value. It's up to you, right? At this point, it's just exposing enough data so that people can do it as they see fit. The one thing that's not implemented is the start finish button icons. These templates here for the vertical ones, it's not implemented on. So I think that's what I'd like to add in, is just slap some, I want these 3A, 3B type samples over here in 4 as well. And I think we'll do the show me the XAML on both sides. So let's go do that real quick. Let's come over here. Okay, so show me the XAML is not an advanced system at all. It literally is this XAML display control, and it needs a unique key. That's it. Don't have to do anything fancy. But I think what we're going to do here is, this is a card. I think I want to break this up into a third row. So I want to do that. And then I'm going to want to do this. Paste this. I want this guy here to go from row 1 to row 2. I want this guy to span 3 rows instead of 2. I want your unique key to be a 4. I want this guy's unique key to be a 3. And I want to go and delete some stuff. Let's see. So 1, 2, 3. I want to do this maneuver. So I want to clear the 3s out of here, just so that there's less to look at when you use show me the XAML. And then this one, I want to clear out the opposite. I want to get all the 2s out of here. There. That should visually look very close, aside from the extra card that's being thrown in. Okay, so let's just relaunch that. And we'll relaunch right back to the same window. Okay. So now the only difference here is we've got separate little show me the XAML button-y things floating around. That way 3 is now slightly different than 2. Okay, so what we'd like to do here is something similar to 4. And I think what we might do trying to decide if I just embed it with the existing ones or if I might just add one more into here. Yeah, we might just add one more into here because I think that's really what I want to do. Deflux Streams, thank you for the raid. Welcome, everybody. We are having fun. Well, I'm having fun. I can't speak for everyone else. I'm at least having fun updating a pull request on the material design project that is adding some functionality to the expanders just so that people can have different icons, because sometimes you don't want the little chevron, you want a plus, and the ability to be able to move the icon to the opposite side. So that is what we are building at the moment, is bringing that in. So that's the goal. That's what we're going for. There was a pull request that was opened recently. Let's see, and I gotta count my letters. A, B, C, D. I can't count. And that pull request got it most of the way there, and I was just gonna finish it so we could merge it. So I think this C just needs to be a D, and then we're gonna go up here and we're gonna just steal some of these styles, because I think I just want to I want to demonstrate on the vertical one kind of both things happening all at once. We're gonna do that and swap that out, and then I kind of want to do, which one over here has it at the beginning? 3B. So I kind of want to do what 3B is doing. Bring it in. Yeah, so we want this guy, just so we can show moving that chevron to the opposite side. I think is really all we're going for. Nothing too fancy. Nothing too fancy. Well, hopefully you had a good stream. Oh, MSAL and off tokens. Ooh. I'm sorry. Yes. That can be a that can be a miserable nightmare. We did a hackathon at my employer. Oh boy, it's probably been 8 or 9 months ago now, and it was. We should have bit off something that most of my team was learning and not very familiar with, but we decided to jump into the deep end and attack it. And Graph and MSAL, yeah, it kicked our butt. We eventually solved it, but we spent a sizable percentage of the hackathon time just trying to get the auth working. It was, I will say, glorious. It was fun. It was a very good learning experience. But yes, it can be difficult. Difficult is not an appropriate sentence. Okay, so we've got this guy here. So the icon changes, which is good, which is fine. But what is not happening is I would like to have the icon on the other side. So I think that's where I'm looking to get this thing changed, because even if I change this from start to end, right, it doesn't move. So, and I'm fairly confident I already know where the problem is. So we're gonna go look. So what happens is inside this library, we have a style set for the expander. Let's just move this up. And on that style, we swap out the template, because the expand direction expand direction has 4 values, right? Left, down, or down, left, right, up. Boy, alphabetical is horrible. And we swap the template based on that. So it's actually a completely different template when you're in the vertical expanders versus the horizontal ones. So a lot of this was a nice refactor, cleaning up the buttons, but the pull request in question, if we go and look, this is where it doesn't get completely obvious. If we look at the template change, so there was a control template, swap out the border and whatnot. But what is missing here is, where's the triggers? These triggers down here. These triggers work great. And in fact, I'm just going to copy them. They're on line 115 to 106. G115. But these triggers only live inside of the horizontal header style. And I believe what we want to do is have it live also in the vertical header style as well. I think that's the only issue of what we've got here. So I think we do this. And then the question becomes, where do we move this toggle button around at, right? So inside of these templates, they're not advanced, right? We've got a grid. The grid has 3 rows, and the toggle button is currently sitting in one of them, and we want the toggle button to change. So I think this goes to be row 0, and this goes to be row 2, and then the margin, because this guy was doing, that is off. I gotta look at what the change was on that margin, because this had a 16, went to there, and so it flipped to applying it with a margin rather than with a fixed width column. That's what it is. Okay, so rather than that, oh, this is interesting. I wonder if this is correct. The fact that this was a 0 and a 10, I'm wondering if that's a mistake. We'll check it. I think it goes like that. Right? Auto star auto. Auto star auto. And then if it's at the start, we set it at 0. If it's at the end, we set it to 2. And I'm going to just leave this complete zeros for the moment, and we're going to circle back and look at it. And I might just go and apply, this one's at start. Let's do one. Let's do one at the other side. Let's see here. Let's do end. Okay. Okay, so I've clearly botched it. That's excellent. I was worried it was going to make sense and be simple. I have likely put the toggle button in the wrong row. Yep. So content presenter. This needs to not have an explicit row assigned to it because I need the trigger to take over, and I need this one to live on 1. Okay, that didn't refresh. Hot reload, you have failed me again. And to be clear, in the demo app, the fact that this text is rotated is all because the header has a transform set on it. Okay, so we have that. And now I'm trying to remember which one was backwards. Were these things at the bottom before I got here or not? I don't remember. So we're going to stash and rebuild. So I cannot remember where that thing landed. That's why I need screenshots or a better memory, or not to code at 11 p.m. when I haven't been appropriately caffeinated. Okay, so I've defaulted them to the wrong direction. So I've got my triggers backwards. I'm trying to decide if I actually have my triggers backwards or if the default value of the attached property is wrong. Okay, so let's pop that back off. Okay, so on the vertical one, expander position, end. But on the vertical ones, is the start at the bottom? No, start. If you've got a vertical expander that's expanding left and right, start feels like the top to me. Start has to be the top. It's probably my bias with like left, top, right, bottom. But if your choices are start and end, yeah, I think the issue is the button position is just defaulting to end because of the horizontal, and it needs to default the other way. If we go here, this is a control template. Trying to decide where the appropriate place is to set this. I mean, oh, dang, Deflux. Doesn't that make it like 2 or 3 a.m.? You must be very caffeinated. Maybe that's why the MSIL stuff was hard. I'm wondering if maybe this the issue is the attached property needs a third value rather than start end. Yeah, 2 a.m. Dang. I'm hoping you don't have to work in the morning. And if you do, hopefully not early. I'm wondering if this thing really needs a slightly different approach. Because I'm wondering if what we really should have is default start end. Have it default to default, because that won't confuse anybody. I'm wondering if that's better. Because then we have unset where it can change. And more importantly, then I can set up the triggers differently. Because there is no good setter. Because this then here, what is the default set to? Yeah, so let's change this to default. If that goes to default, and we add that in, that then means that we can set we can make some assumptions. If it's not default, we know that it was explicitly set somewhere. And then we can have a different position based upon where it is. So if we do, let's see, this is the vertical one. This one we want it to be the end. So we want this trigger up here. And we want this mode here to be value default, because there's not a great way to do an OR condition without duplicating a little bit. So that goes there. And then down here, we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to grab the start one. And if it's default, that's duplicate line. That's not what we want. If this is default, so even though they look similar, the one that we copied has subtly flipped places. And I think that makes it, I think that's a little bit easier then. There we go. Okay, so 4C is now set to end. D has a custom one at the start. Just to confirm that that is how we set these up. Let's see. 4C has expander position end. Great. The other ones are here. Lovely. Beautiful. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Okay. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Ship it. Ship it. Ship it. Ship it. Okay. Ba-ba-bum. Do I want to go implement? I don't want to stage that one. Oh, I wanted to check the size of these things because I kind of suspect the margin on those buttons is problematic. Yeah, all of those are good, but I want to check the margins because this is setting an expander button margin. because this is going to be the toggle button itself that contains it. Should there be a margin, or should the content be able to bump up against it? So let's go here. Let's see. This is going to be horizontal alignment start. Oh, horizontal alignment left. I think that gets us pretty close. I guess I could actually try to use the designer. Where's my snoop? I want to snoop this. I want to just check on these things because I have a sinking suspicion that these are not doing what I want. So how much of this is being driven by the... So there's the content presenter. There's the button. And if we play with this button and zero him out, that's able to bump all the way up to it. Is there a margin between these before? There was a margin of 16 in there before. Why did we do that? Why did we put a margin in there? Oh, look, I realize I'm looking at Material Design 3, but it's the latest. We're gonna... I thought they had a expander type control. Buttons, cards, carousel, checkbox, date picker, list, menus, navigation, side sheets, sliders, switch. Boy, I feel like I remember seeing something in here. And this could be an area where they don't have anything. Carousel, chips, date pickers, dividers. Nope. Navigation, navigation rail, search side sheets. What do you got? That's not useful. Sliders, snack bar, switches, text field, time picker tool. They might not have one. Let's just look at the Material Design 2 one real quick. I could have sworn I remember... Wait, what? What? Please tell me they didn't remove the old one. That would be very annoying to me. Oh, M2. You just gotta change the subdomain. Okay. Checkbox, dialogues. Navigation drawer. It's not really what I'm after. It's not a good... Buttons, outline, toggle button. This is where I remember seeing something about it. Theming. Boy, I vaguely remember seeing something about this. Just wondering why we want any margin at all. Because if somebody wants, because if we set a margin, consumers can't adjust it. They have to use negative margin if they want to walk into that space. But if we set no margin, people can put in whatever margin on their header they want and get a better behavior. And I kind of feel like that is better. So I'm wondering if a better solution here is to not apply any margin. That's feeling better to me. Let's do this. Let's go there. And then let's go here. So I'm not confident that we want any margin at all between the header and the button itself. something seems off by having that there. Yeah, and most of the time, no one's going to notice. It's only going to matter for things like this. And I think on 3B, we then go through and adjust 3B. 3B. So let's collapse you. Come up here. 3A. 3B. Where is the header? And this may be why people wouldn't want to do it, because it requires you to do something like this where you actually implement the header explicitly rather than just doing the attribute syntax. You actually have to come in here and say, okay, well, now that I've shifted that around, margin left 10, and now you get, that's still shoved up in there. I'm betting it just didn't refresh. Hot reload, you are failing me. Bad hot reload. There. Oh. Now I'm curious why. What did I do wrong? How did I break the... How did I break the styling for the header? Huh? Huh? Did I... Huh? Did I... Oh, look at that. These ones have a different size because they have an explicit header set on them versus the other one. Okay. Okay, we got something else going on. Okay, why is that being switched out on me? More importantly, how is the implicit one working? So let's start with here. So this text block, expander header, I'm interested in font size. 15 inherited. Expander assist header font size. Ah. Bet you that's it right there. Expander assist, there's an attached property. Why do we have a header font size? We have an attached property for people who want to use the attribute syntax for setting their header and don't want to use the font size setting directly. Okay, I get it. I get it. It's just yucky because that means as soon as you do this, you've broken it. So that means font size. Actually, we can probably fix this internally. Let's see. Where is the horizontal header style? Setter property font size value binding. It's basically the same thing as what's down here. I want this ugly thing. And we want that in both cases. Boom. And then that will propagate down. Did not propagate. Whoa. Whoa, hello. Oh, interesting. Oh, it's because I set the wrong property. I want to set text element dot font size. Because if you set the other one, it's explicit to the font size on the toggle button. Well, I'm surprised that didn't inherit. Why would that not inherit? I'm not actually sure. Still didn't make it in. Why did you not do it? Why did you not do it? There's your toggle button. So font size is being explicitly set. Text element font size is 15. Text element font size is 15. Text element font size is 15. Font size is 13. What the heck? Where huh? Where are you getting that from? Font size inherited. Inherited from what? Your parent had a 15. Why would that value source not propagate down? You know what? I'm going to not stress about it for the moment. I'm going to cut these because they are not relevant to the PR, and we are going to merge the PR as soon as Visual Studio decides to unhang. I think we're going to leave it like that. And make sure that that margin got appropriately set. Don't add a S randomly inside of your template. And then we're going to push this and let this guy roll through. Yeah, I may come back and look at this because it seems like this is something I don't understand why the font size isn't propagating down. But I'm also aware that my caffeine level may be influencing my ability to debug it. So we're going to push this. I don't want that. I want that one. Let's see. So we did just the expander button ones, just the expander button ones there. We added default. Let's see. Added new default button position. Actually, let's do the first one. Added support for button position on vertical template. Added default button position to support different defaults for vertical and horizontal. Realize my big head is in the way. I apologize. Commit. Push. Okay, and then we should be able to go back over here. And this one, refresh, should have all of our changes. Excellent, excellent, excellent. We're going to mark it as approved and get this guy merging. Let's see, this is already flagged as release notes in 5.0. Enable auto merge, confirm auto merge. We'll let that guy go in. Okay, one last thing I want to do before it gets too late and I completely lose my sanity. Let's see, create branch, update, XAMLTest. And then I want to come back over here because the XAMLTest NuGet package that we published earlier should be out and well indexed by now, I hope. Not, we're going to force it. Let's see. Yeah, we can do that. Test SDK. Update. Rev the things. This should only edit one file. And then there's another PR that's out there that will want to use the find element thing, but I'll deal with its rebase at a different point, and or just let it merge and then fix it afterwards. Either one is fine by me. Oh, that's funny. I just got the email notification that my NuGet package published. Thanks, email. Outlook, you're on point. Okay, compiles. That's the only unit test I care about. Packages, props. Bump. We're off the preview builds. We're now on full builds. XAMLTest to latest. Great. Then we're going to do the drag drop trick. So drag your branch on top of your target branch. Push and create PR. Best feature ever. Create pull request. Boom. Enable auto merge, confirm auto merge, and squash. And that is how hard it is to open a PR. I love my Git Kraken. And if it could check that box for me when I open the PR and I didn't even have to click out, that'd be even cooler. Save me 2 whole clicks. Two. When I'm tired, that's a lot. Cool. Well, thank you, everyone. Hopefully that was interesting. I got a lot done. I was happy. I had fun. And my usual policy is if I'm having fun, I hope that somebody else is probably enjoying themselves too. So, as always, happy coding. Deflux, thanks for dropping in. Always good to see you back in here. And I'll see everybody again next week. Happy coding.